Evening, folks. Yeah, it's that time again. It's Thursday night. Here it is, the first week of March. They say it comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. Well, it's some lion like weather has passed through here. I hope it didn't hit you. I'm Buddy Martin. The program is The Buddy Martin Show, jam packed show tonight with lots of stuff to talk about. Four great guests. Kevin Brockway standing by with a report out of practice, football, spring football. There's an issue with DJ Lagway's throwing shoulder. We'll talk about that. We've got Ben Troupes, Warm Fuzzies, the great Gator tight end. Franz Beard, who's Mr. Gator basketball, will be here with us at the bottom. And Loren Meadows was out of practice today, too, and has got a report on the receivers. It's a jam-packed night, folks. Come on and join us here on the program and tell your friends and neighbors the Buddy Martin Show is back on the air. Believe it or not, let us come back on again. We hope you'll enjoy the show tonight. We're starting going to stand by. The Buddy Martin Show is now on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
And welcome to the program. I'm Buddy Martin. Glad you're joining me tonight. We have a lot to talk about. Boy, a basketball team that's on fire. We'll talk about that big Alabama win. Got spring football starting, issues with the QB's shoulder. We got baseball, softball, etc. Golf season going on. Arnold Palmer being played. We got it all, folks. I've always said March is one of my two favorite months of the year for sports, March and October. And March is underway, and it's happening right now. Let's waste no time. Let's go right to the hotline and talk to the man who was eyes on DJ Lagway and the Florida Gators today at the open spring practice. You probably saw a lot of coverage on that. You'll see some of ours. Loren Meadows will join us in just a minute, give us his thoughts. So what's up, Kevin? How can you take a day off from basketball? There's too much going on, man.
Buddy, I'll tell you what, I wish I could clone myself, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are the days I wish we had Robbie Andrew back, could pull him out of retirement. And we got Gator Nationals going on too. It's just nuts.
Oh, forgot about that. Yeah, Gator Nationals too. Yeah, wow.
It's
crazy.
Really, like I said, this is the crazy time of year. I was out at practice today, and obviously we talked to Billy Napier before practice. He kind of got ahead of things by mentioning that Lagway was not gonna be limited in terms of throwing. He did not throw today. He did some like simulated reps where he did some handoffs and he dropped back, but didn't throw. And I guess for day one, that's he's going to be on some kind of a pitch count with this shoulder situation. And we only see a 15-minute window, so it's hard for us to say that he completely didn't throw for that practice. But for that 15 minutes, he did not throw.
It's a great term in baseball, pitch count. And for those who are not familiar, the old-time baseball writers will tell you back in the day, and among the first to talk to him was guys like Dick Young and what have you, a guy I used to work with, not necessarily fondly. But anyway, that pitch count thing is from a sore shoulder in baseball. That means that you're limited number of times you can throw the ball. Makes sense. Did that catch you off guard a little bit?
A little bit, but we had heard stories last year that DJ was banged up, right? We heard even, DJ after the Sanford game said he was dealing with the shoulder thing in the preseason. And the theory was, because he came out as this dual threat quarterback, right? And, at a high school, right? And I think the theory was all season long, at least in my mind, he wasn't running a lot because of that shoulder maybe still bothering him and the risk of re-injury. And that turns out to be the case. I mean, he did throw a pretty deep ball, though, throughout the season. And then he had the
Yeah.
hamstring issue and had to come back from that. And Napier also said lower body too. So it's a combination of things. And I think they're just trying to play it smart. I don't see this as too much of a red flag. I know, one of my good friends, Mark Long, went on another show and said that. But just from watching him in the practice, I mean, he didn't look to me like a guy that was completely hobbled or completely, it looked like that this is just a situation where they're being very cautious here because it is a spring, and in reality, what does it really mean? And, I asked Billy Napier more along the lines of, the mental reps, he even admitted, he said, there might be some chances that he'll go in and maybe call some plays as well from the sideline for the other quarterbacks. So we will see. We got to see a little bit of Harrison Bailey and
How do you look?
Kamel Jones, and I wish I could say better things about him, but the first day was not as impressive as maybe I would have hoped. But there were some underthrows and some overthrows on some deep balls, but maybe they'll progress during the course of the season.
Considering what this injury is and how well Lagway threw the ball, it's kind of remarkable.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no question. And I mean, well, that's the thing, when you're wondering about the shoulder, are you wondering, is it, a throwing issue or a rotator cuff issue, or is it more, obviously, maybe just bumps and bruises in the shoulder or something that's not as mechanical in terms of throwing the football. Now, obviously, he's on a pitch count, as I mentioned before, but you got to wonder what, we don't know the specifics all of what it entails. And if it's something where, obviously he's in the non-contact jersey anyway, he's in the black jersey, but, maybe it's not as severe a situation as strong as we think, but, they said they are going to look into some, medical specialists and so forth and see what the severity is. But as of now, they haven't decided that surgery is an option yet anyway.
Well, boy, you should want to have surgery on your young quarterback who's got all kind of potential. He is the future of Florida football right now, and everything he's done. He's such a tremendous young man. We talked about it on the show this weekend. A leader, and he's like a magnet to people. So you wish him all the best. And of course, it's going to be an issue because it's going to be brought up time and time again. Because your neighbors are going to be asking you about it, and the media is going to be asking about it. It's going to be on all the talk shows, social media. It's not going to go away. So get used to hearing the story about his bum shoulder. So we'll see what happens there, but not the way you want to. Although I thought Billy's press conference, I've listened to all of it. I couldn't go to practice today in Panama City. I thought he was fairly optimistic and positive and cooperative, and he said the right thing, like he had an intention of giving the injury information to the media, etc. I don't know. Is that rolled over a new leaf for Billy?
Yeah, I think it's kind of turning a new leaf, and they have a new, obviously, media relations person in Scott Burns there, and maybe it's some advice from him. I think it was good that he did it on the front end before practice, that we weren't all scrambling, wondering why DJ Lagway wasn't throwing the football. Mm-hmm. I think that was kind of useful in that regard, and I think as media members, we did appreciate that. But that being said, I think 4-game winning streak, right? I think it's a little bit of Disneyland because you're not going to be playing a game until August 30th. So this is a time of year to kind of do some things and to see maybe some of what the other quarterbacks have. I still think, again, and for a number of reasons, developing depth in that quarterback room is going to be important, and we'll see how Harrison Bailey pans out and Kamel Jones being a freshman, but behind that, you've got a couple of walk-ons. You also had Clay Millen, who we saw out there, but he wasn't throwing. So, I mean, I don't know, what that necessarily means.
I mean, let's face it, DJ Lagway is it. He's the ticket, period.
It's really his team, buddy. I know. And I will say the one thing that impressed, if you're looking for a positive, Eugene Wilson was running routes. He, coming off the hip surgery, he looked pretty good. He made a really
everybody
nice
raves about that guy.
Over the weekend, over the middle, excuse me. He looked good. And I'll tell you what, Dallas Wilson and J. Michael Sturdivant are two guys that they're big targets and they're thick. I mean, they look SEC ready. Dallas Wilson's body as a true freshman looks SEC ready. That was the one takeaway I had too, that he's a big guy and he's obviously got some ability and so does Vernal Brown the third made some nice catches too. But in terms of just guys that you think that can absorb the SEC contact. Sturdivant and Dallas Wilson both stood out to me in that regard.
Do me a favor. I know this is not going to happen. Since you're a big shot at the press conferences, and tell Billy that those of us listening online don't understand nicknames. J. Mike did this. I mean, we don't know who you're talking about, Billy. And there's constantly complaining because they.
Well, what's funny is what's interesting is he always calls Eugene Wilson the third Trey, and Billy Donovan used to have a player called Nimrod Tishman, I think 10 or 15, but he would call him Rod. And I'm wondering if it's just like this. Oh, well, we can't call him Eugene because that's like a girly name, but that's his name. So why don't you just call him by his name instead of calling him Trey all the time? But apparently that's his nickname, and people stick to it. So
we've got Ben Troupe. We're going to talk a little more football, but before we go there, we got to get way in on the basketball. The incredible performances by those Gators in Tuscaloosa. I mean, my gosh, what a night, huh?
Buddy, I'll tell you what, not to be too self-indulgent here, but if you've read my scouting reports and you've taken a look at my last two score predictions, I think I had 81-70 in the Texas A&M game and 95-90 in the Alabama game.
I did see
Florida.
I did.
I should go to Vegas or something, right, and make a lot of money and
absolutely
give up this racket. But that being said, no, I really thought they matched up well with Alabama going into that game because I thought, they could run with them in transition. And they had a little more physicality across the front line. And I think Alex Condon getting healthier and obviously playing the level he's playing has really been huge. And if he can do that, continue to do that in March.
27 points. They out-rebounded Alabama. A good right. 50-35. They were all
terrific on the boards.
I mean,
Yellow was terrific on the boards. And, they were very good. And he stayed out of foul trouble, so he had more minutes on the floor. That was the key. And Clayton was up and down, but he hit some big shots when they needed him.
Counted,
and he was great on the lobs. I really thought, and I posted this on Twitter too, I really thought Todd and some of those offensive sets in the last 5 or 10 minutes, I mean, they had Alabama completely fooled. It was kind of like a clinic because they were coming up on Clayton, and he just kept on, getting those open dunks to Condon. And I was like, why didn't Nate Oates make an adjustment there? But he never did. And Florida got a ton of easy baskets and built that lead and kind of managed to hold on at the end. I know they were kind of playing no fouls at the end and maybe let up a few threes that made people nervous, but they made their free throws and found a way to close it out.
The physical toughness was never more evident than when Elijah Martin banged with Stevenson, I believe it was. And Stevenson went to the locker room and never saw another play. And then and Martin went to the locker room, came out, got hurt again, went in and came out, and was diving for balls on the floor. I mean, that guy's something else.
Yeah, he was a former football player too. He's a former dual threat quarterback in Mississippi, an all-state quarterback. So he's got that toughness gene about him, and he's really helped the perimeter defense that way. Yeah, I think that was Sherrill that went out actually, not Stevenson. And Sherrill was a guy that was kind of a thorn in the side. He was hitting some threes in that game, and true freshman, McDonald's All-American. But yeah, Martin with that collision knocked him out of the game, and then he came back, and it really, buddy, it really worked out. And we got a guy in here that knows a thing about contact. And
we're going to talk about him. I'm sure he can handle him, Elijah Martin. This guy could right here. What's up, Ben?
Oh, what's up, buddy? How y'all boys doing tonight?
Well, we're just reveling in all the good news and stuff that we're enjoying. Football started today. A little concerned about the news about the QB's shoulder. We'll see when that works out, and talk about the physical toughness of the basketball team. I got to go back and correct my story. I got Stevenson as the guy I bumped into. Franz told me it was Stevenson, so if it was Sherrill. Anyway, the point was, all right, I know you watched the basketball game last night.
Yep.
Your thoughts?
I mean, I think when Florida plays, I like the fact they up and down. Obviously, people are going to talk about, Condon coming back and the way he plays. I mean, I heard what you guys talking about the lobs. When Florida plays defense like that, they're going to be hard to beat. I think that's probably, Gator Nation, yes, we are very, very spoiled because people talk about the green light. I mean, when I see Walter Clayton Jr. play basketball, he is – I mean, I'm pretty sure him and Coach Golden, they got a thing going, but he going to shoot till he hot, shoot till he cold. I like players like that. He's going to shoot it. But when Condon is playing like that, it's going to be – Florida – Alabama, we're going to bring out the best in other teams. I get it. Alabama, they going to play hard-nosed basketball. But I just think when you look at Florida and the way in which we play, I mean, We can be rim protectors when we want to be. We can get up and down the court when we want to be. College basketball is shooting the three. That's just college basketball now. We live and die by the three. But when Florida's playing like that, that's why you feel good about them going into the SEC tournament and going into the NCAA tournament when they're playing like that. And, hey, Coach Golden obviously coming over. People kept saying, can he win big games? Can he be competitive? No one saw the SEC basketball becoming this. I mean, good Lord. I mean, you talk about Tennessee getting beat, people storming the court. You talk about what Auburn does. You talk about what Florida's doing. But I just like our poise right now. I like the fact that Coach Golden seems to be a guy that he's going to play the hot hand, and you're going to, I just think that with our length, with our defensive presence, with our ability to shoot the three, with our ability to protect the rim, with our ability to get up and down the court, that's a recipe to beat anybody, whether that's SEC, ACC. The tournament is different. And the thing about the tournament is it doesn't matter how good you are. You got to win to move on. I get it. But I just think that going into the SEC tournament is going to be a lot of momentum. Coming out is going to be where we're going to be seated. But I like Florida chance. 26 wins for a lot. Come on, man.
And you probably remember 20 years ago, right? Anthony Walsh and Matt Roberson and Billy Donovan used to say, sometimes they had to shoot themselves out of stuff because guys like that can get on a roll. And Walter Clayton is the same way. He kind of reminds me of that throwback to that way, and the fact that some guys you have to give a longer leash than others. And I think Walter Clayton has proven to be one of those guys that he's going to hit the big one when you really need it, and he did, and was unselfish too in finding Condon for those lobs down the stretch. I mean, those were some, and Condon was making some crazy athletic finishes on those lobs too.
He was a hell of a
Those weren't
player.
easy, but that stretch, where they stretched it from about 5 or 6 to 15, that really won them the game, I think.
Well, yeah,
I can't remember a player, should have been like Condon. I've loved him from the first time I saw him. Because I've seen guys that can run the court better than he can. He runs it off. I've seen guys that can shoot better than he can. Guys can rebound better than he can. Guys who can pass the ball better. But I don't think I've ever seen a big guy do it better all the way around. I mean, I know Joe Kim was great or whatever. Mm-hmm. But this guy, Condon, is amazing. He's a hard-nosed guy. You see him sticking his nose in there at the end, Kevin? I mean, when they go
Al Horford's another guy too, buddy.
He was. He was.
And was a guy who developed his skill
every
year. For my money, when you take a look at the totality of everything, I think Al Horford's the best player.
But you saw 4 years of Al Horford. You haven't seen but 2 of this kid.
Three years, yeah. But Condon is up there in terms of what he's done. And this is again Todd Golden, the global recruiting that he said he was going to bring in here. I mean, here's a guy from Australia. Only had a few offers. I think it was Utah, St. Mary's, and Florida were his 3 best offers. He chooses Florida. You take a look at what Urban Klafschar is doing. He's starting to come on a little bit as a backup guard.
I like him. 5 guards. I got 5 guards
from Slovenia. But this is what and this is the way you beat the Blue Bloods is by going out and finding these hidden gems, while these other programs are bringing in McDonald's All-Americans that you might come in with an inflated attitude, and some of them bust.
Yeah, Ben, why is it taking? I get so frustrated with these people who rate these teams and give the seedings out. I realized they got beat by Georgia, were embarrassed in a game they shouldn't have ever lost, and got behind by 26 and closed it out and came back and still lost. But this team, look what they've done. They beat these teams, the best teams in America, on the road. Beat the 1-7 team. They beat a bad, beat a bad. Plus Tennessee, they don't have as many quad 1 wins. Please. I said in my column, I get quad 1 wins, but to me, head-to-head rules. If you take a quad 1 and say, well, Auburn's got a lot more quad 1s. Okay, that's like saying my Rays and your Braves were playing in a ball game and they finished in a tie, and say, well, let's give it to the team that had the best ERA or whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't put teams in and out based on a quad 1. I don't like that. Speak to that, will you, Ben and Kevin?
Well, I mean, I think it's the Florida way, right? I mean, basketball and football are gonna get a lot of. We're not the media darling we used to be, and I think the thing is when we're ahead of schedule, when we're beating people, people don't expect us to beat. it's like, okay, what are you gonna say now? But Coach Golden knows this. Look, man, control the games you can't control. Yes, it got away from Florida against the Georgia Bulldogs. Coach White, congratulations. He get him one. But Florida understands this. They've been finding a way to win games with star players in and out of the lineup. When their lineup is intact, they're as good as anybody. And we keep talking about Condon and what he brings to the floor is he's a 6'11" guy that can run. Like he
and pass and jump and play defense and everything.
But that's why Coach Golden gets those international guys. They're brought up to play unselfish basketball. They have to adjust to the American way. Condon wasn't talking trash and staring guys down in Australia. He comes here and it's gonna take a couple of practices. So you take what he grew up doing and what he's added to his game. You can't coach 6'11" and athletic, and he's both. I mean, catching most big men gonna catch lobs with two hands. The one he caught with one hand, I said, wait, that was nice, And I think that's the thing about Walter Clayton is you don't go to the draft, don't get the kind of draft analysis. I'm not coming back to Florida to be hesitant. I'm not coming back, to Florida to kind of be poised. Man, I'm shooting, getting off the bus, but I got guys that can rebound. I got guys who I can get the ball to. But I just think that Florida is playing in the golden era of SEC basketball. No pun intended with Coach Golden. When you look at the team, listen, I get it. I get it, Auburn, because they got, Coach Pearl. I get Bruce Pearl. I get Tennessee. I mean, Texas A&M, they competitive. You got Kentucky. Who knows what's going on with Kentucky these days? Maybe John Calipari knew something nobody else knew. I don't know what he's gonna do with Arkansas. He didn't get the chance to do it in Kentucky, but I just think you look at a competitive league, top to bottom, and Florida is one of those top teams. I mean, and they beaten top teams. So I'll never understand these metrics that they bring up or bring in to try to justify wins and losses. Is it a good win? Is it a bad loss? 26-4. All right, and I get Georgia's one of those four, but you will take 26-4 in any year, any conference, any league. And like I said, Florida is prepared for the NCAA tournament because of who they play in conference play.
I'll say this, right? I think Florida's in a pretty good position for a one right now. You beat Ole Miss because Tennessee lost, obviously. They beat Alabama. I think they're going to be two number one seeds from the SEC, and I think it's going to be Florida and Auburn. And I think Florida will probably either be sent out west to San Francisco or Indianapolis. But you know what? 7 quad one wins for Florida, right? They're 7-4. 6 quad one wins? Duke. And yet nobody's questioning Duke's schedule.
Yeah, really. How about
and the fact that they're playing in the, but they're Duke. The blue blood. They're Duke, and they have the.
They'll be number one in the polls, I guarantee you, out of Florida.
Exactly, and it's just that's just kind of like the way it is. I mean, that's people love the blue bloods in college basketball and will make excuses of them. I covered a blue blood program in Indiana. It was the same thing. It's like even when they're struggling, they'll find a way to get them in the tournament because they bring money and revenue and ratings, and it's a game that way. One more thing about Condon, by the way, Ben. You mentioned all those things. Also toughness. He played Australian rules football.
Yeah,
he's had his teeth knocked back, into his gums for a game. Had to get like a basically wire retainer and wear a mouth guard. This kid is tough as nails. He goes in the boards and he doesn't, mess around. He mixes it up with guys that are thicker and bigger, and he's not scared at all.
Can you imagine if it's a tight end? What if he's a tight end, Ben?
I mean, he that catch radius. I mean, I don't know what type of routes he's gonna be running, but that catch radius is gonna be through the roof. But what Coach Ty Golden is really doing is he's looking at where the NBA is going. International players are some of the best players in the league. Well, and most of the time, we don't know who they are until draft night. Who is this youngest kid? Who is this Luka kid? Now, obviously, Wembanyama, obviously, because, but now I think with a guy like Condon, you bring in a lot of different – listen, you bring a coach, you bring a style of play, and they saying, look, I want to play in the SEC. The SEC basketball is becoming what SEC football is. Everybody wants to play in SEC football because that's the creme de la creme. Basketball ain't far behind. If it is behind when you think about – what these teams are bringing in, and like I said, when you start thinking about what Florida is capable of doing, the world knows what Florida is capable of doing. What Florida's going to have to do now is, right, you're going to have to go deep into the tournament because these games in the tournament are so freaking. They a bounce here, a bad call there, or things. Florida going to have to show I don't think Florida has to prove anything, but they do. They come on. We talking about Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. Because to me, you get to the Elite 8. Okay, now we talking about something because then it's dependent on what the matchup is going to be, and Final Four is going to come down to, hey man, are we playing our best basketball on that given night? Because the one thing about these Cinderellas, blue bloods, what the NCAA tournament, guys who do the seeding, they know all we need is one blue blood. Why? Because what was it a couple of years back when it was San Diego State, Miami, and it was there go UConn. There go your blue blood. Who wins it? UConn. But Florida is not a blue blood, but when it comes to SEC basketball, taking nothing away from Kentucky. Oh, they're a blue blood. If you're talking about SEC basketball, because what? Kentucky, Florida, Arkansas. That's your national champions, right? That's it. Yeah. That's the league. But Coach Golden knows we got to win it all, and we'll see what happens come.
Yeah. We got Franz Beard Jones in just a minute. I want to just mention, you talk about Florida's resume. You realize they had a 30-point win against number 1 Tennessee, a 19-point win against Texas A&M. People thought they weren't any good until what happened this past weekend. They had the road win at number 7 Alabama and the road win at number 1 Auburn. You going to tell me that that's not more impressive than some quad 1 win? Well, anyway, I ain't buying it. All right, we'll tell you about our sponsor. We'll bring fans aboard. Our good friends at Meldon Law, of course, are been a sponsor for a long time. They're good people. They want you to know they've got offices available in 4 locations to serve you. Ocala, Gainesville, Williston, and Lake City. Get to know them because they have great goodies like this. Always bring this out, drink it. Like stuff like this, Meldon Law. And they give them away a lot. And also they have Meldon Law has a Facebook page where you can win tickets all the time. Tough to get tickets. And they're really great Gators. They're the only official injury law firm of the Florida Gators. And, of course, they also practice law. And they also like to have a lot of fun. So they will not back down. Meldon Law. Let's say good evening to one Franz Beard of the famous Beards. Good evening, Franz.
Yeah, one of the famous Beards is showing up Saturday. Randy of the Texas Beards is showing up. Also of the Billy Beards of ZZ Top, also of the Texas Beards.
And Percy Beard of track fame.
Yes. He is of the Alabama Beards, and he actually is related.
That's what I heard. You're related to a lot of people. We're having a good discussion about what are we talking about, guys? We're talking about why Florida's not giving more notice. Friends have discussed this ad nauseum. Let's switch gears for a moment. Let's go back to football for a second. Now that we have 3 football nerds here, and what happened today in practice. Billy's approach at his press conference. Ben, I'm not sure if you got to see any video about how we're getting reports about how the wide receiver room really is good. The injury to Lagway. Pick your poison, Franz.
Well, it's interesting because I'm writing about it tonight. I had a call today right after they gave the press conference and they had all the injury lists, and I have this friend who's a conspiracy theorist, and he is firmly of the opinion that they're going to install a new defense and a new offense, and they're going to use all these injuries as a reason not to have anything more than a walk-on scrimmage that will do as the orange and blue game.
What do you think, Kevin?
I don't know entirely about that, but I do think that protecting your best player is a sound strategy, and I think that's what they're doing right now with DJ Lagway. I mean, he obviously turned their season around last year, 6-1. So I think from that standpoint, I can kind of agree in terms of just being, ultra careful, ultra conservative with him. I get that, and I get that, but I do think that. I do think for some of the younger guys too, and for some of the early enrollees, I mean, heck, look what Shane Bond did in the spring game last year, and look at what he became. So I do think it's important, particularly for those younger guys. Cormani McLean, people are raving about him and the offseason that he's had so far. He's put on 20 pounds of muscle, and apparently has had a really good attitude. Tyler Miles, we just talked about that. So, maybe for a guy like him, it's important for him to go out there and maybe show some things. So I think you'll see some guys, but I don't think that, I think you got to protect who you got to protect, obviously, in a game that's really, nothing more than an exhibition for fans.
I'm okay with that, Ben and friends, but you got to be careful not to coddle. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, I think if we're gonna do away with spring games, I mean, just do the same thing the NFL does. Do inter squad scrimmages. Find a college within the state, within 100 miles. You can get the drive up here and just let them go out there and play some meaningful football. But it's organized chaos in a sense, because I get it. Everybody would love to have a DJ Lagway. I get it. But the thing about it is young guys need reps. I did not enroll in January, right, to do walkthrough. And people say you got to get mental reps. Mental reps are guys who been in the NFL 10 years plus because they don't got the legs to run. They're 18 years old. Run them. And you got to be able to see the game move at a certain speed. I know that Trap calls V8. I know he calls VB3 Squirrel. I want to see Squirrel, get out there and show me what he can do. And I think these coaches, nothing against Billy Napier, but these coaches, I don't like the copycat stuff that's not beneficial to the player. What leads to injuries is no football contact. You're going to get injured more when you don't have contact than when you do, because football is a collision sport. Your legs are gonna, you're gonna get tired. You're gonna get winded. But when I was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we had so many veterans, which I appreciated at the time. We got to do a lot of walkthroughs, a lot. Well, we also pros. We also understand what to do when the pads come on. But I think when you start talking about college football, what is lacking is development. I cannot develop in a field room. I cannot develop in a weight room.
Whose dog is bark? Where's that dog coming from?
Is that my dog?
Anybody here? Huh?
Probably my dog. I don't know.
I just want to make sure nobody's getting attacked. Okay, go ahead.
No,
Who let the dogs out? Yeah.
Listen, if anybody's looking for two dogs, I have two beautiful little dogs. I'm just saying, I'm just saying.
Call Athens.
But I think with Billy Napier, though, I think with him, what he needs to understand, too, because there is no, and I mean this humbly, because there is no relationship between him and the media like it should be by now, right? He's going to be under more scrutiny when he is, not being forthcoming. And it's easy for me to say these things sitting in the, in the confines of my home. But I just think for Billy Napier, this is a chance for him to grow with the media. Like the spring is a chance for everybody to grow as a player, as a coach, team-wise. But hey, I mean, DJ Lagway, we get it. Yeah. All eyes will be on Gainesville because we got DJ Lagway. But he can't be touched in practice anyway. When people go, well, you can't touch him. It's 7-on-7 no matter what. If you get close to him,
but it's a throwing. It's a throw. It's different. It's not a physical blow. I understand why it's different. Like Kevin says, it's a pitch count. One of the things in the press conference, and I listened very intently to it today, is that he talked a lot about the importance of having these third-year guys back. He's had them 3 years and not the meat they put on, but the training. He really seems like proud of these guys who were the nucleus of his team, and they were going to be the juniors and seniors this year. And that will make a difference. I think he feels like he's confident. The offensive line is being talked about as a strength of the club. Who thought that would ever happen, right? So, Franz, he's got something there.
Well, look, I think the practices are important. I think the spring game is not. Other than the fact that, as some people have brought out, there's a lot of people who come to that game and they may not ever be able to afford a ticket. I mean, you got to if you're going to bring a family of four to a ball game, you just about have to take out a second mortgage to get the tickets, the programs, hot dogs, and Cokes. I mean, it's just the prices are just out of sight. Kevin goes to the baseball game at the baseball game about the sixth inning every week. He leaves the press box and goes and gets ice cream, and I guarantee you he could buy a half gallon a bluebell for what he pays for one little thing with a scoop of ice cream.
You gotta have ice cream at the ballpark, but it's probably worse in City Field. Trust me, than it's. But it's I'll tell full disclosure. It's $10.70.
Is that what it is?
In a cup, yeah, in a Gator cap. But you get to keep the Gator cap, so I've got a collection.
Son of a gun! Well, forgive me for that one. Holy
but you could probably get 2 cartons of Briars for that. Yes, I agree.
You have a collection of them, I'm sure, because every game I'm ever at with you, you go and get one. But
I love them.
There's a lot of complaints about the prices. I've seen a lot online about the $7 hot dog and the chicken tenders only getting 3 and something for $19. I mean, this ain't Augusta where you can get a meal for $5, and it's unfortunate. That's just the way it is. Anyway, so the idea being, just give me a little flavor of what you saw out there, Kevin, today. Franz, I know you didn't get a chance to see practice, but Ben, give me your feeling of it. And I got standing by. We got Loren Meadows.
Practice. I mentioned this before, but the receivers, like I said, and it was good to see Trey Wilson back out there. Bryce Lovett looks like he's going to be the starting right tackle. He looks like he's going to be the guy that's going to start out there, and they really like his development and what he's doing there. That's another of note. And Harrison Bailey, like I said before, didn't set the world on fire, I would say, throwing the football, but 15 spring practices, work in progress. So we'll see what the next few practices bring.
Speaking of food, press box food is good some places. I know guys live in certain, like I know a guy in Detroit, he went to the ballpark every night for dinner and came home and worked. He just went there for dinner. He ate and came home. Ballpark foods can be great, can be terrible, but
remember the pregame meal they gave us at Mississippi State in 2009 when we go to the dining room there and they had steaks for us?
I do not.
You were there.
I remember the Outback Bowl, and we had those big old steaks there.
Lemon onions too, yeah.
We came in from Tuscaloosa, and you could see the stadium 30 miles away, like
that
it was a mothership.
Yeah, that I do remember for sure. Yes, that is true. And look, people don't care. Obviously, they don't really care that we don't. If we eat good or eat bad, that doesn't bother them. But it's not their concern. But anyway, it's all a ballpark experience, and nothing better going to a baseball game as a spectator, going out on the berm, get you the hot dog and a beer, and watch the game. That is what you call real pleasure. We don't get to do that very much in the media, but it is a fun thing. How often do you guys do that?
I went to spring training last week, buddy. I'm a big, I'm a Mets guy, and I go down there. I go down to Port St. Lucie, and I try to get to Major League Baseball games when I can in the spring and the summer, and love going out there. It's a shame what happened to the Trop though, because I've gone there and the roof is all torn off now, and they're going to be playing in Steinbrenner Park, and it's it's going to be interesting to see if the Rays stick around in Tampa too. And they
exactly. I mean, the Rays. You talking about the team in St. Pete?
Don't start on me. don't make me get my hat. I got my hat right here. I'll whip it out on you. I got my hat right here.
I live in Tampa, buddy, and I said, "Hey, could you tell me what the Rays play?" They was like the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah. Oh man, you got to go. You got to go to St. Pete. I said, I got to go to St. Pete to see the Tampa Bay Rays.
Hey, did you ever play against the New York Giants or the New York Jets? Did you ever play against them?
I played against the Giants at home. Did you ever
play a road game against them?
No, I live in New Jersey.
Where was the stadium? New Jersey, okay.
Hold on for a second. Listen, buddy, and I'm gonna say this. Listen, we are officially in baseball season. I will not wear my Braves hats, but if I see you sneak a Tampa Bay Rays hat on this show, I'm gonna get up and because I bought a bunch of new ones just for you, buddy. I'm trying to tell.
Hey Ben,
he is healthy. Just saying.
Hey Ben, you watch the Tampa Bay Rays in 2 years will be playing at Disney because that stadium at Disney is expandable to 32,000, just like that. And that will be the new home because in St. Petersburg, they'll never get that financing for a stadium
Okay,
off the
I got to
ground.
stop and do a Titan MRI commercial. This may go on forever.
Didn't play for the Titans. Let's
Let's call it Shrews. Call it Shrews and let Loren get in here real quick. He uses that practice, or we'd never get this in. Right? Titan MRI imaging. Now, Titan MRI and imaging. Titan MRI imaging acquired high field MRI. Joe Colorio started high field in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and imaging now has 3 locations: 2 in Gainesville, the Surview, also coming to Ocala soon. They also have one in Lake City. Titan MRI, same great customer service, accept insurance through their convenient self-pay options. They give MRIs, CT scans, X-rays, and ultrasounds. Easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings. Titan MRI and imaging. Check them out. They'll give you a good deal there. All right, guys. Loren, you saw practice.
I did.
You focus on the receivers and Billy.
I did. It was a familiar sound. You walk out and you first person you hear is Jabbar Jaluk, who is just taking those running backs to task. Got them going. It's a high wire kind of act with the running backs. But then I kind of tucked myself inside the indoor facility, and there is Billy Gonzalez. I mean, just talking all things receivers. Ben, about this, getting your hips down, head over your toes, driving, keeping the feet moving. They were doing, I call it the angle cut drill. Ben, you remember the cones are about 3. It's really a drill that kind of wears on you. They're about 3 yards apart at an angle, and they're just driving. But what stood out to me is they got some men. And what I forgot is, when we talk about, the receivers, Trey Wilson and, Aiden Mizell, but I forgot, Khalil Jackson's back. I mean, he's rehabbing, but I forgot that he's still around. So that's a good looking guy that's on the hoof. But I mean, what stood out and Kevin and I talked about, I mean, guys like Vernell Brown, Dallas Wilson, even Nashawn Montgomery, those 5-star guys. I mean, Dallas Wilson is SEC ready. I mean, he is put together. And I mean, when those guys put the foot in the ground, it's violent. And I think that, you take a guy like Billy Gonzalez, who's been there, done that. Going to have 2 more guys drafted high here in April's draft. I mean, they're set up, like I said before. They believe that they have 3 deep at, the X, the Z, and I think I can't remember what they call the H maybe position. And I mean, they feel like they're 3 deep there, 3 deep enough where, they may do some 4 wides and things like that. But,
4 wides.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Some 10 personnel.
No tight
10 personnel. Yeah. I mean, that's and when you think about it from an X and O standpoint, it's something that can loosen your box up. And with what the what the Gators have coming back at the running back position and the threat at the QB position, I mean, it just lends itself to maybe spread some teams out. And what I call sick 'em plays, where you turn that quarterback loose in those spread formations, and now you got to go out and tackle that big dude. So, I know Billy Napier talked about DJ Lagway kind of being on a pitch count. I mean, we saw that he was fully dressed, kind of just going through the motions with air. I used to call them pup guys. You remember the pup guys? They be doing the plays versus air, that physically unable to participate, but he was out there talking, getting coached up. So I think that's kind of precautionary. But as far as the receivers are concerned, if they can give DJ Lagway time, which with what they have come back, they should with the running game, it's going to be rough on the perimeters for opposing defenses. So I really like what the Florida Gators have at receiver. And then J. Michael Sturdivant is a big dude, as big as advertised. Like I wrote, a legit 6'2.5". 215, 220, can catch it, can run. And yeah, I mean, and Billy Gonzalez is coaching them. I mean, what else can you say?
And, Loren, Tyler Miles said this in the press conference too. Sturdivant came in at about 201, 202. So he's put on 14 pounds since he's come here. So he's
Right.
put in the work to get bigger and
Right.
stronger. But you and I both were standing next to each other. We looked at them. Those are SEC ready bodies, and we saw
Oh yeah.
Carter Van and Dallas Wilson.
Well, and you talked about it too. I think you had Montgomery at about 165, 170, and they've got him listed at 185. And he looked a solid 185 to me as well. So yeah, shout out to Tyler Miles and the work that he's done on those receivers, because they all look pretty good on the hoof for sure.
And by the way, guys, a little trivia I'll throw in here. Do you know when the first time on record was of seeing 4 wides in a football game?
On record?
Mm-hmm. First time anybody ran 4 wides in college football.
College football, 4 wides. That wasn't Mouse Davis, was it?
No, but if he coached in the college back in the day, he would have done it.
Yeah.
What about do we have to go back to Sid Gilman or something? Or
No, actually, it was Florida,
Ray
and it was Charlie Pell when they had
Charlie Bell. Okay.
coach of the Broncos. Help me out, Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan.
And Shanahan told me the story. He said he put 4 wides on the field for the first time. No one said anything about it back in those days. But and I love 4 wides, and I don't think Billy loves that tight end. What you got? 4 tight ends? 5? I mean, so many tight ends. But Ben, you'd love playing for him. I mean, you guaranteed to spend on the roster.
I think when you talk about 4 wides, those are the type of things that you earn. My senior year, every time at the end of practice, Coach Larry Fedora would come up to me and say, "Troop, you're going 2 minutes a day," as if I had an option to say no. Am I going 2 minutes a day? But 4 wides puts pressures on defense like only it can, only because you better have a linebacker that can get down the seam. You better have a linebacker, because then you say to yourself on defense, do I put a linebacker in there? Do I put a corner? Do I put a slot corner in there? Then you really talking about best matchup. I mean, Loren, you said it. The most freakish athlete at receiver right now is Khalil Jackson. He just hurt. Khalil Jackson is freakish. Big, fast, strong. And when you got guys like Ricky Pearsall leaving, a year ago, you talk about DK, you talk about Elijah Badger last year. Billy Gonzalez understands this. Listen, fellas, you either going to do what I coach you to do, or you're not going to play, because it is proven. What Billy Gonzalez really does, watch. I guarantee you the starting gunners are going to be receivers. I guarantee you they're going to be receivers. Probably the starters, because I remember when he had, different guys in there. When you had guys like Van Jefferson, those guys running down on punts, that's football. Because I think what Coach Billy G does says, look, you play receiver, but do you want to play? Hey, Squirrel, I'm sorry, VB3, you want to play? Yeah. Run down there and make a tackle.
And block. You got to block at his offense. He will not have it.
And that's something Kevin and I talked about, not to cut you off, Ben, but Ben, you can echo this and I'll give it back to you. What I told Kevin and what I found coaching and playing, when you stress blocking to receivers, what I think you get a gift in return on is the run after the catch, the violence that comes with the run after the catch. And I think that's why you see that from a lot of the Florida receivers is they all block, but really, I mean, Billy Gonzalez has always had guys that when they catch it, they get after it once they catch it too.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
That's what he builds to that. That, like, when you talk about mentality, blocking in any form of football is mentality. So when you start talking about blocking on the perimeter, that softens up them corners. When people say, what make a cornerback back up? Well, speed and physicality. Because corners, I mean, you got physical corners, but I just think that what you just said, Loren, when you think about these receivers, look, when you got the running backs we have, you're gonna want to get out there. Listen, good runs become great runs when you're talking about blocking on the perimeter. So what happens is then when the running game comes in, I mean, now you got these running backs saying, hey, man, I appreciate what you guys doing for me. It makes the offense so balanced when you got a guy in DJ that can get the ball to anybody. You got receivers. You come to Florida now, and the first thing you say to yourself is, we got to block. Is that me? Is that Franz?
No, hang on a second. I'm trying to get back to France, but he lost you somewhere. All right, hang on for a second.
Calling Rune Arledge.
Yeah, let's see here. All right, hang on.
There we go. But no, I think Coach Billy Gonzalez. I mean, you talking about having just plentiful like talent in the room. I want my starters to be under so much pressure because of the twos. They're not gonna miss a beat. That to me, that's what Florida is. When you say, "Hey man, how good is these rooms?" I said, "Watch how those starters play." Why? Because when them number twos come in, you're not supposed to be able to tell. They used to tell us, if you're a number two, if I put you in there, you shouldn't be able to have that drop off. VB3, if he's like his daddy, he gonna be hell. Because Vernell Brown used to get all Vernell soaking wet 170 maybe, but he gonna give you all he got. So when I look at his son, I see VB just sped up a little bit, a lot quicker. Listen, you don't become a 5-star just because you can play. You become a 5-star in high school because you won them ones. 5 stars are not giving out that much. But yeah, I just think that when you think about Florida and what they got right now is they got culture, they got competitiveness, and they got a coach that they believe in. That's a recipe for success. And DJ Lagway said it. I'm gonna help with recruiting. He did. And people want to play with him. Now we're gonna see what's going. I know that Coach Callaway, tight ends coach, co-offensive coordinator. I don't know if that means he gets more money. He gets to wear a different color shirt. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means yet. But we will see. When it gets real out there on Saturday afternoons. But I'm just happy at the fact that these players come in. They've been here since January. And they parents come see them. In March, I'm like, dude, what you been eating? I say, hey, man, 15 pounds of muscle, because you're going to need it. You're going to be able, I heard about McClain, when he on the 23 mile an hour club, boys running 23 miles an hour now. Nah, I'm not, I wouldn't have been on that club when I would have been in Florida, but I would have been in probably the 15 mile an hour club. I probably did that maybe. 23 miles an hour? Nah. But I like the direction Florida's headed in. I like the fact that, they ain't cutting no deals now. All that cute stuff and recruiting. Once you get out there on the field, I don't gotta cut no deals. When you get out there and they hit back, okay. Because everybody look good with shorts and helmets. But pads make noise. When they put the pads on, hey, you separate the good from the great from the elite. Everybody's good. You hope to be great. If you walk away elite, that means you did something with it. But I am happy that them boys in orange and blue are back at it. I got a chance to talk to Caleb Rillos yesterday, the kid from the Air Force Academy. This kid is the smartest kid at Florida. I bet he had a 4.5 GPA in high school. I said, you can have higher than a 4.5? I mean, a 4.0? He's like, yeah. So, with another 6'6" kid, kind of like, Hayden Hansen 2.0. So, hey, man, I'm looking forward to seeing them tight ends make some noise this year. I think that the tight end position has to be beneficial. Hopefully.
All right. Kevin, what's your group that you're looking forward to seeing besides the wide receivers that you think got a breakout potential?
Well, I think the secondary will be interesting. I don't necessarily breakout potential. And the linebackers too, I think with Miles Graham and Aaron Childs are two young guys that I think
Miles Graham.
Are really, Pup Howard is not practicing. He's got a soft tissue issue. Jaden Robinson is another guy from Lake City that kind of came on late last year. The linebackers will be interesting. And then, in the secondary too, with Devin Moore, who's, back healthy. Can he stay healthy? Cormani McLean, obviously, and Dijon Johnson. You've got a few corners there, Castell and Bryce Thornton. Seem like on the come is a couple of safeties that can be pretty good, and that are 2-year starters. So,
Franz, I know you like the offensive line.
Yeah, I do. My one concern on the offensive line is the two guards. I think Florida's got the best center in the country, and I've thought that for 2 years. I think Jake Slaughter's in the league by himself. But what about those two guards? I'm not sold that Florida's got answers there right now. They could have them. I understand they got guys that played a lot last year. Got a starter on the left side who played and everything. But that's the the guys right straight up the middle on either side of Jake Slaughter, the guys that got to improve. I'm convinced the tackles are going to be just fine. Austin Barber is going to have a really big year. And I like the move of Bryce Lovett at right tackle. I think Bryce Lovett is just a tough guy.
Yeah, Billy said today he can play all 5 positions.
Yeah, he's smart, but the thing I like about him is the same thing I like about Jake Slaughter. Just a tough guy. You know, you look at Jake and you don't think of him as a tough guy. Put the pads on and let him take you on. He's as tough as he's meaner than a snake, tough as it gets. And you get him off the field, and you don't find a nicer kid ever anywhere.
I'll tell you another X factor too. LJ McCray, like he's moved back to the Jack, and this was a guy that was a top 10 recruit out of high school. I know he's kind of big and long, and you know, how is he going to develop too? And can he be, you know, live up to kind of that billing? I know sometimes the edge rushers take time. We saw that with the late Ronald Powell, for example.
We ain't got no time. He's got to play now.
But Derek Harvey was another guy, you know. I used to call him the Great Pumpkin. We kept on waiting. And then finally in 06, he came through. I mean, sometimes these guys take time, buddy, but McCray is an interesting guy and a guy I think that's going to be worth because, you know, you saw the athletic potential out of high school that made him a top 10 national recruit.
Yeah, I think sorry, buddy, I was going to say and kind of echo, you know, just talking to Mike Peterson, I mean, they are really, I mean, I think they felt like all those guys, those young guys, be it the linebacker position, guys at the Jack, have really taken that next step. So, you know, if it all pans out, I think Florida fans and the defense will be pleased with what they get from all those young guys going into year 2, for sure.
Our next question is going to be you. Anyway, Loren, and is Rob Sale, can he get it done? I mean, look, here's a guy who was an offensive line coach in the National Football League, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the title of, whatever reason, we know why, because of money, of offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it about time he delivers on a regular basis?
Meaning as offensive coordinator or as offensive line coach?
Why have we had such a hard time getting a good offensive line together?
Well, I think we had a pretty good offensive line in the last, 2 years. I think. Well, look, I mean, Kevin brought up a great point. The last 2 All-Americans of Florida have been offensive line.
Osiris Torrance, yeah.
Osiris
he had a really good offensive
Jake
line
Slaughter.
his first year, kind of dipped.
Yeah,
you know. The second year,
I think that. Yeah, I mean,
year.
I'm a big Sale guy. I think that Sale does a really good job, and like I said, I spend a lot of time with Austin Barber in the spring. We have a mutual interest. I'm not going to put his business in the streets, but the fact is, I mean, those guys really like playing for Rob Sale, and I think they're going to be pretty good. I know that Franz has his concerns against the guards, and I see why, but I think that they're going to be a pretty good offensive line. I like Sale. I think Sale's done a great job. I thought that, you know, some of the issues that they had early in the season, I mean, obviously unacceptable, but they got them fixed. And, you know, Lagway being inserted into the starting lineup, you know, gave them a little bit more of a burst as an offensive line. And when the guy can just move to the right or to the left a little bit, I mean, I'm a big Sale guy. I like Sale. I think he comes from good pedigree. And I think he's done a fine job.
Napier mentioned in the press conference today, Jason Zandamela, the USC transfer guard, as a guy that, you know, has kind of caught his eye. You know, maybe and Rod Kearney, too, has moved to guard, too, if I'm an All-American. So I think there are guys in the wings that if Damian George and Najee Harris don't perform, that they're going to be pushed a little bit.
And I think Zandamela even has some starts under his belt at guard, if I'm correct, at USC. So I think that, I mean, I think the O-line, that's not as – my concern is, can they stop people? I mean, really, when it comes down to it, I think it's can they get off the field on third down? I jokingly said, you know, when they hired the guy, and no offense to the young man that they just hired for AI, I need somebody to tell me how AI helps you get off the field on third down. Because that's what the Gators got to do. They got to make people punt. If they
we'll take anything.
If they can make people punt, they're gonna have a good year. If they just got to get out the gate defensively, starting with the game against Long Island, and I know it's Long Island, but it still matters. Got to get off the field on third down.
What's hurt them a lot in that third down situation, mobile quarterbacks too.
Yeah.
The inability to kind of spy and guys creating with their legs against them. That's what's
right.
Or in the case of Cam Ward last year, also even creating in the pocket too. Getting the quarterback on the ground, which they did a better job of, I think, the second half last season has got to carry over.
They're a confident bunch right now on defense, and I think that speaks volumes. So I'm hoping it stays that way. They're a very confident bunch right now. I was had the opportunity to spend some time with Cam James and George Gums a couple weeks ago, and they are fired up with what they feel. They took care of business the last half of the season. I think they really feel like that's going to carry over into this season.
All right, guys, we got to each get a minute here. I will give you multiple choice decisions. I want you to weigh in on the staff Billy's got now, top to bottom. Give them a grade point average. Or if you want to talk about the tremendous response and what is ahead for the basketball team, pick one or the other. Kevin, you go first.
Well, I want to talk about basketball, and I want to talk about a point that a lot of people are making. I'm going to make this prediction. I've been pretty good on predictions lately. Remember, I said last week after I lost to Georgia, I said, hey, look, they're going to run the table here. It looks like that could happen. I'm going to make this bold prediction right now. You're going to see 3 SEC teams in the Final Four. The first time it's been done since 1985. Buddy, you remember, you're probably the sports of the New York Daily News when Louis Carnesecca and St. John's was one of those teams.
Yeah.
I think there's a shot here because I think there are 5 or 6 teams in the SEC that could do it. And they'll be spread out. If you have 10, 12 bids, they'll be spread out in all 4 regions. And I think that you're going to see 3 of them get there.
Okay. Well, it's exciting. Who wants to go next and which subject? Loren or coaching staff?
I'm going to give the coaching staff a minus. And that's just because I really I've been very critical of the man at the top. I don't know him personally. I think sometimes when you talk about somebody or you say something that you don't like him. Well, no. But I've always liked the assistants. I think Billy Gonzalez is the best they come at the receiver position. Jabbar Jaluk. I like the Sinceri hire at linebacker. Ron Roberts is a proven guy. I think he made a big difference. I'm a big Gerald Chapman guy. You could see, top 10 in sacks last year in the country. You see the improvement. So my big thing is, as a collective, can they get out of their own way? Can you be so detailed that you forget that the game is about slapping somebody in the face? And it's always been that way. If they can do that, I think they can become a really good staff. I think anybody that looked at that staff at just on paper would say, man, that's a really good staff. And so I really like I like the staff. I like the way they've been constructed. It seems that, obviously Mike Peterson, 14-year vet, Florida grad. I'm going to say, let me rephrase it. I'm going to say in between a B+ and an A- right now.
Oh, you're slipping. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, I'm going to throw this into you. Why didn't Billy more popular? Why did they really obsess about him calling plays? Why do they think somebody from the outside would be better when it's his offense and his quarterback?
Because we've seen Billy for a long time, and it took a freshman quarterback, starting for us to really say, okay, so we see what he's really doing. Same player, same scheme, different outcome. And I think the thing about Billy Napier is it's a lot of things that, aren't the most attractive stuff. And the most unattractive thing is it's 4th down or lack thereof. We go for it on 4th down more than anybody, and if you're gonna do it, be creative. You call timeout first.
True.
You're gonna run. We'll go for it on 4th or 6th. Like it's nothing. And next thing you know, the ball is going horizontal. Like, did we just throw us? So for me, I think for Billy Napier is this, and I get it. You got to have the right players running your scheme to make your scheme look like how you want it to look. And I get it. You've had some glimpses of it, but I think what DJ Lagway do, DJ Lagway he's going to make up for a lot of things that Billy Napier may lack as a play caller because he can improvise, and he's an elite improviser. He got a big arm. But I think for Billy Napier is you got to show improvement in the play calling because sometimes it looks like the receivers can't get open. Like we going up against the best DBs in the country. And sometimes the scheme just ain't fitting what they're doing. But maybe DJ Lagway got something, and maybe they can go. And like I said, I see all this offensive coordinator stuff. Is that meeting room stuff? Is that having some type of do I get some type of clout on game day to be able to get in Billy Napier's there? I get it.
Get two burgers.
Nobody is more, like structure like these head coaches, Billy Napier included. They just do things their way. Coach Spurrier did his way. But here's the thing. When it works, we love it. And when it doesn't, we don't. But we'll see.
Correct.
We'll see. Right. We'll get a chance to see if the offense can – well, we know what the offense is. Will we go deeper to the play calling? Because now you can't say it ain't the players. You got the players, running backs, O-line, receivers, tight ends. You got the quarterback. Let's see if you can open it up. Let's see if you're going to open it up.
All right, good. Last one, friends. Is it San Antonio or bust?
I think they're going to get to San Antonio. I think Florida has the best constructed roster out there. And it's going to get one player better this week, and that's because Sam Alexis could be back Saturday, but will be back for the SEC tournament for sure.
Good player.
25 fouls, 10 guys who've all scored in at least in double figures at least once all year. 10 guys who all know how to play defense. Mm-hmm. I think the Gators have the best constructed roster. They've got the depth, and we've seen that he can run. You look at some of these combinations and you think they can't score with these guys, but they score with these guys. Maybe they're a little more explosive when Clayton's in the game, or certainly when Richard goes into one of his shooters comas or something like that. Yeah, but stuff like that happens. But overall, the offensive scheme that Todd runs works with just about any combination he's got in the game. And that's the sign of a well-constructed roster. And it's a sign that they have worked overtime in the chemistry department. I'm telling you, we can't emphasize enough. You're talking about, football, you got 85 guys, okay? Basketball, you got 13 guys. 85 guys, you can have one guy that pisses people off, and you got 84 guys that can just say, screw you. I don't want to even have anything to do with you. Basketball isn't that easy. One guy, one bad apple, and it can throw off the entire ball club. And the teams that win, like the 06 and 07 teams, were so tightly knit and so well constructed. The 2014 team, same thing. I think the 2017 team of Mike White, if Igbunu doesn't tear an ACL, that team would have made the Final Four, I feel certain, and may have won it all. Yeah. So you got to have the right construction, and I think this is why the Gators are going to get to San Antonio. Getting there is one thing, winning it's another. You can have it only takes one bad night when you get there. Remember this one thing, and then I'll finish. It, as Billy Donovan said more than once, you're not the best team necessarily if you win the NCAA tournament. You're the team that went 6-0.
Tell it, Franz.
Yeah. Okay. Here's my final thought I want to go out on. And that is that talking to a bunch of people, including primarily football beat reporters, they're telling me they haven't had this much fun following a basketball team as they've had in a long time. And one of them said to me, I don't want to cover football. I want to cover basketball. My question to you is, how much fun is it this year to watch this basketball team play like they play? And then I'm going to say to you, can you imagine if football was the same way? Yes or no? Give me a thought.
Well, you guys witnessed it. I was living in Ohio then. still coaching high school football, kind of running around. And I can just imagine as a fan being 1,000 or so miles away from it when both teams were good at the same time. I mean, I can't imagine. So you guys would know the euphoria of that, but I can only imagine. So,
Amazing, amazing.
I'll see Franz Saturday at the ball game on Saturday. And, if they do make the Final Four and heaven forbid win it all in San Antonio, and then we turn around and late in the fall, we're looking at a team that is a playoff team sitting at about 8-1 or 7-2, and looking at some big wins down the stretch. It can be big fun. It's gonna make this show a lot more fun. I can understand that. So
that 06-07 team, I will say, because I covered it, a lot of personality on that team, led by Joakim Noah. I don't know if you quite have the personalities on this team.
True story.
I mean, Clayton is a little bit of fun at times, but that team just had some kind of different, and it was a different time too.
You had them all together for a long time too.
Well, the thing I always remember, and Kevin, I think you probably do too, is they had just won the SEC, and Joakim Noah, Vern Lundquist is trying to interview him, and Joakim Noah starts dancing. It was absolutely hysterical. We go in the locker room afterward, and of course, Joe's got about 40 people around him, and Torian's right next to him. I'm the only guy interviewing Torian. Everybody else, because I can't get close to Joakim. I would have loved to. And all of a sudden, Torian reaches over like this, snakes an arm through people and says, "Joe, you can't dance." He says, "I can't too. You saw me out there." I said, "Joe, you can't dance." And Joe's sitting there, "I can dance." And he says, "Joe, trust me, you can't dance." And Noah's looking like, "Oh my gosh, he's insulting me in front of me." And finally, Torian gives him a carrot and says, "But you can sing, Joe." And Joe's like, "Yeah, I can sing." Torian always had the needling, guys, and he was that guy. The one guy that holds that 2-year stretch that never missed a game with an injury, never fouled out, never missed a game, was Torian Green. If he had gone down, I don't know what would have happened. They wouldn't have won it. But he's the one guy that held that team together. And every team's got to have a guy like that. In football, I think we got it in. Everybody's saying that DJ Lagway's that guy. I think Elijah Martin has become that guy for the basketball team. I think he is that glue guy that came here and said, "Okay, guys, quit screwing around. We got to do something."
Pretty fun back when Spurrier was here, and he had James Bates too, by the way. Don't forget about
gosh.
that. Yeah. All right. So, guys, here's the thing. We're now at record levels, the second biggest audience we've ever had tonight. So congratulations on that. And we threw off the air about 10 minutes ago. But since we got 605 people on right now, I want to hang for a minute. I'm going to fill you in with this story. You said you can't dance. This will mean nothing to anybody but me. When I was at Florida, I had a good friend who pitched baseball in Florida and was a good athlete from Miami, about 6'4", maybe 210, 215. He would come home with me to Ocala and wanted to date the girls in Ocala. He thought he was Mr. Bon Vivant, right? I took him down to Johnson's Beach, which is where the ladies would all come on a Saturday night, and you go out to dance, and you had to go ask the lady to dance unless you brought one. And of course, we didn't bring any. We didn't come. So my buddy Vinny, who thought he was Mr. Cool, there was a song, you'll laugh at when I say this, called "A Little Darling" by the Diamonds. Okay, This is important. Little Doll. It's not a great song, but anyway. But bottom line is that the song came on the air, and Vinny broke out into one of these boogaloos, And he goes across the floor and he puts his hand out for this lady and says, "Would you like to dance?" And she, being a little Ocala girl, this big Miami guy, said, "Man, you can't dance, a little darling. No, I don't want to dance." What's great about that story is that almost 20 some years later, I came to New York, my first job there, not at the Daily News, at the smaller paper at the time. And there was a story about me in the paper becoming this local columnist there in Westchester, and a picture, and my phone rang. And there was a voice said, "Mr. Martin?" I said, "Yes." "What would you say if I said, 'Man, you can't dance, a little darling'?" I say, "Vinny Penn, how the hell are you?" And we reunited up there. It was great. Anyway, that's my little story. Got time for one more? Just a story. Who's got one?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you the story. So I'm a high school coach, and I'm coaching a couple guys, and we send a kid down. He ended up playing at Florida State. We had him on the show a while back, Florida State week, but he's visiting Florida, and I get a phone call. It's a Saturday. Tennessee is getting ready to play Florida here in the Swamp, and I get a call. And they say, "Hey, Coach Meadows, somebody wants to talk to you." And I say, "Who?" And on the other line of the phone is Joakim Noah. And he's like, "Hey, Coach Meadows, how you doing?" I said, "You're taking care of my boy?" He said, "Yeah, we're getting ready to get our rings and that kind of thing." And ever since then, I was already a Florida fan and things like that. But at that moment, I became a Joakim Noah fan. So, shout out to Joakim Noah. A lot of guys might have said, "Hey, get out of here, kid," blah, 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 blah. But yet he was gracious enough, spent about 5 minutes on the phone with me. And ever since then, I just have always rooted for that young man through and through. So there you go.
It's true. I know Ben's got one. He's dying to tell. So go ahead.
Yeah. So I live in, when I was living in South Georgia, down there in Brunswick area, you get asked to do all these speaking engagements, right? So everywhere I speak, I got to speak to a bunch of Georgia people, right? A bunch of Georgia people. So, they always got something to say, this and the third or whatever. So they kept making all these jokes about Florida and the jean shorts and all this or whatever.
George.
So this guy says, "Ben, you telling me," he said, "Ben, why didn't you go?" He said, "You telling me, was it a shot for you to go to Georgia? You think it was a shot for you to go to Georgia?" I said, "Well, sir," I said, "this is how I look to Georgia." I said, what do you like the most about Georgia?" He said, "Oh, it's add this and the third." I said, "Well, check this out." I said, "Do me this favor." He said, "Yeah." I said, he was telling me about going to Georgia. I said, "Spell way." He said, W-A-Y. I said, "You forgot the F." He said, "Ain't no effing way." I said, "Yeah, exactly. I will never go to Georgia." I said, "Exactly. It would never happen." Because to me, when people do the whole thing about the thing now is, "Oh, Ben, if you can go back, you can go back." I say, are the circumstances the same when I go back? Yeah. Is Steve Spurrier still the head coach? Yeah. Is Jim Dunn still the head coach of Georgia? Yeah. And when people say, "Well, Ben, you picked Florida over Georgia," I say, look, I've had to make some hard choices in my life. That was not one of them. Coach Spurrier, come to the crib. I met Joakim when I was in New York. When I was up there in New York, man, Joakim Noah, I was in Bloomingdale's, and Joakim Noah's sister was like, she was like selling something in there. And she like 6'4". I mean, I'm like a little bit taller than her. So, it's crazy. So I go up to her. I'm asking about her stuff. Then I'm like, "Oh, her stuff was very expensive, by the way." I said, "Oh, this is nice, but you got them Joakim Noah prices." I said, "Is your brother going to be here today? Joakim going to be here?" She said, "You want me to call her?" I was like, "No, Joakim ain't going to remember me." She said, "Yeah." So she called him on the phone. And I said, "What's up, Joakim, man? This Ben Troupe, man. You probably remember me." This is what he said. He said, "Yeah, man, we used to Troupe. I remember you. We was dunking all over y'all in the Southwest Rec. They used to kill us." He said, "What about? Listen, I'm 6'5" center. He's a 6'11", top pick." I said, "Yeah, man." I said, "Well, Joakim," I'm like this. I'm like, "All right, Joakim, I got to go. You breaking up? I got to go." I appreciate it.
Good stories. Hey, by the way, Toby Permit is one of our astute listeners. He's exactly right. Wayne Peace was the quarterback when Pell and Shannon went for it. Very good. That's a good job there.
Well, tell Toby too. We only get to watch practice for 15 minutes. We don't get to. He asking about every position on the field. Give us some weeks, Toby. We'll get around.
Well, he wants to know. You can't ask you for asking, right? So, want to know, yeah. So we got some smart people here. So the final comments here before we go out. How does tournament look? We already commented about that. You guys say it looked like it was SEC ready, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go out now with what we opened the show with, which was the injury to DJ Lagway, which changes the practice schedule in the spring. He's going to be on a pitch count, as Kevin called it, and they won't be able to have their full complement of players on the field. It's too bad because that young receiving core needs that timing, don't they, Ben? They need to have that timing among them, Kevin. Among that, it's too bad they can't. I hope this works out to their advantage. That's a little bit more disconcerting than I thought about first.
But that's good for them though, because listen, if DJ Lagway isn't out there, but he's watching them, even though he's the same age as most of them, I want to show DJ Lagway what he's getting. I'm still talking to him. Look, the spring is great and everything. Let me tell y'all the biggest misconception about spring. Okay, if it were up to the players, forget spring game. It wouldn't be no spring practice. Spring football, it's a different kind of rough on you because the players, the coaches want you to be all excited, all that rah-rah and stuff. And after like the second or third practice, you be over it because it's a lot of install. It's a lot of we're going through the motions, getting you used to what's going to happen because nowadays there's so much media coverage on these players. They only, you feel like the players when you start going through the spring, but when it comes to those young receivers, those young players in general, that's when you prove yourself. Man, you better go out there and making sure, if the route is at 10, don't break it off at 9. If the route is at 10, don't break it off at 11. If you better learn cover 2 and man, and you better learn cover 2 and man real quick because it looks like you opening that hole. Hey man, that cornerback just pushed me out. That safety ready to blow you up if they try to throw that 9 route in there. But I think it's competitive, and I think for a young player, it's good to have older players to show you how to go out there and get it done. Because as great as you are, you raw. You're going off raw athleticism right now. Coach Billy Gonzalez, he gonna fine tune all that stuff. He gonna say, hey, bring it. Because like you said, Loren, you think you want to play football till you see them drills. I hated looking at Combs. Because I had Coach Dwayne Dixon my senior year. Who he coached all them great receivers that came through, all of them. Jaquez, Riedel. So when I got him as a tight end, I used to have to tell Coach D, do I look like Riedel Anthony to you? Do I look like Taylor Jenkins to you? Because he's so used to it, I had to let him know, look, man, I stick my hand in the ground. Yes, I can get open. So a lot of it was just Ron Zook used to just let us fight back and forth. I mean, I wasn't disrespectful, but it's hot as hell out here, Coach D, and you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like some of this stuff, I know kind of what the tight end does, but I will say to have veteran players who just say 3 things. They say, yes, sir, coach. No, sir, coach. Coach me, coach. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to say. I like Florida's chances because, like I said, DJ Lagway not being there, it kind of gives other players a chance to be seen more. Because if he's out there, you're just looking at him all the time. Him not being out there kind of but it'll be fine. As long as it's not the fall, the spring, he can miss the whole spring. Watch. Ain't nobody worrying about the spring. When them live bullets firing, he'll be out there. And that's what matters.
Kevin, you think it's a little bit of a setback?
Well, you bring up a good point, the chemistry with the receivers, but that could be gained in the fall. I think, also, I think that's when you got to worry if he's not ready to go by August. I think now is the time when you're very careful with him, and you'll have enough time in the fall, I think, to get, and this year too, unlike last year when you had Miami off the gate, you really have to, let's put it this way, no disrespect to USF, a little more for Long Island, but at least one true preseason game before you go to USF, and then it gets really hard games 3 and 4.
Yeah. All right, Franz, can he make it up in time for the fall? So he's got his A game.
Quarterbacks and receivers are made in June and July. They are not made in the spring. Spring practice, as Ben says, is a grind. And the one thing that you learn, the only thing I think instructive that comes out of spring football is guys get used to, particularly the young guys, get used to grinding, because if it's hot in the spring, just wait till they get to August and you're out there and it's 100 degrees and the humidity's 190 and you're sweating your butt off. Quarterbacks and receivers are made in July and June and July. That's when. And I don't know. I'm not convinced that DJ Lagway's hurt. I just don't think they want to. I don't think they want to take a risk with him. It's easy to say, hey, he's kind of hurting, so he can't do it.
Yeah, certainly is true in the case of John Reeves and Carlos Alvarez. They were made June, July, and August. I mean, before August, they ran Carlos Alvarez ran every route on the route tree every day in the hot sun during June. And made himself a great player. So, all right. So you guys think spring's terrible. I'm going to tell you about Jones Ramsey. Jones Ramsey was a PR guy, SID for University of Texas, a terrific guy back in the 60s and 70s when Daryl Royal was there, whatever. He once said, in Texas, there's only 2 seasons, football and spring football.
That's right.
All right, guys, great job tonight. Thanks to the people. Well, what a great crowd we had tonight. So football's underway. There's nothing like football, and basketball ain't bad either. Thanks, guys. Great job tonight.
Get all our listeners get off and get it. Root on the lady Gators. They're giving Alabama fits in the SEC tournament right now. So
they're up 6.
40. Yeah. Well, now they're up 3. So 49-46.
We'll do that right now.
Late in the 4th.
And don't forget to read Lauren.
We'll see if Kelly Ray can close it out.
Don't forget to read Lauren and Franz and me and Gator Bait too. You'll look glad you did. Thanks, guys. Great job. All right.
All right, boss.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. So we're gonna wrap it up. Tell you about our friends at Red Star Medical Research and all the great things they do. We'd like to wrap it up with them because they're always special people. We just need a little more time to talk about it. It's something that's been a relationship for years and years and years. And we have relationships with the owners who started Red Star Medical Research, Superior Medical Research Facility in Ocala. And they're really good people. Mary Brantley, the wife of the great Scott Brantley, and Joe Sorrentino, my good friend. And his son is Joey Sorrentino, a dentist at Marion Dental that I go to. We'll see in a couple of weeks. But the thing about Red Star is they have your health in interest. They're interested in giving you better health. They can do a better job if you would support them in their quest to do this. They want you to look on their website, Renstar Medical Research, renstar.net, and sign up for any of the clinical research trials that they have. They always have 2 or 3 going on at a time. And you'll be able to take part in these and give them data they need desperately to give us better health care. No charge to you. And you can sometimes get special investigational medication, and you can get special gear from them, and you can get paid for participating in the clinical trial if you qualify for it. So it's very important that you understand that they're good people. They're doing good things. Red Star Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Boy, what a great show tonight. What a day. It's stuff going on, right? We're glad of that. We're always glad of that. And we're glad to have Franz and Ben and the whole team tonight in doing this show. Appreciate your participation and appreciate this athlete that's supported by the advertisers and listeners. Have a great night, folks.